I've shown you how we use the API designer to create a design for our API, and now I'm going to show you how the API mocking service can be used to prototype that API and therefore validate that it meets the needs of all your stakeholders before you invest any time in building it. This has a huge impact on your project delivery speed because as soon as we move on to the development phase, we know that what we're building is correct if we validated the design. And this saves us going through expensive build cycles, even if we're following an agile approach. It also enables us to do parallel development. So once we've got the API design verified, the people who are building the consuming applications can build in parallel to the people who are building the API implementation itself, because we have this agreed contract and mocking service in place. And this also allows me to follow a fail fast approach because I can create a design for an API, turn on the mocking service, and then develop new products and services that use that API without actually investing time in building it until we know it's worth investing in. So over the next couple of minutes, I'm going to show you how in the API designer we toggle on the mocking service, and then how we can share that mocking service and use it to test the API design. So let's move over to the platform, and here you can see the design for my customer API. This is a single view of a customer API that I'm building for my web developers because they are building a customer portal online. So I've created a design that I think is going to meet their needs, but I want to share this design with them before I start investing time in actually building the back end. I can share them the API in its current form, and they can read the RAML, they can read the interactive console, and they'll get a bit of a feel for how it behaves. But a much easier and faster way for them to understand what this API does is to actually call the API. So let me turn on this mocking service, and then I can actually try out making requests to this API. You put in a clearly fake client ID and secret, hit send, and you can see that I'm actually getting a response back as if I had already built this API. So if I share this mocking service with my web developers, they can use this API in its current form. They can test that this API meets the needs of everything they're building for the customer portal online. And if they have any feedback, it's very easy for me to then update this design, and the mocking service will automatically update and reflect any changes that I make. So this makes it much quicker for us to get to the point where we have an API that meets the needs of those web developers, because I don't have to spend any time building anything at the back end. What I can do to make it even quicker for my developers to test this API and to give me feedback is to share it in Anypoint Exchange, which is the heart of the Anypoint platform and is our single place to go to discover all of our integration assets. So I can publish this API design, and my web developers can look in Exchange for this design, and then they can try out making requests in this console and in the mocking service, which, as you can see, is automatically exposed as part of this documentation. And my developers can also use this as a way to give me feedback and therefore complete the feedback loop solely through this single design tooling. So we don't have to start going between emails and Slack and all the other different communication channels that might be in place. So they could just give me a little comment that says it works great so far, but I'd really like you to bring back the customer's date of birth, please. And then I would get that piece of feedback, and it would be very easy for me to then update the RAML. So what I showed you is how we, within the API designer, we turn on the mocking service. As you saw, it's completely automatic, and how we can use the mocking service to validate that that API that I'm designing will meet the needs of my stakeholders. And this makes my overall project much quicker to deliver because testing the design is quicker in the first place by having this mocking service. And by following this design first approach and using the mocking service, it means that I can ensure that what I'm going to build will be correct first time round, and I don't have to go through expensive development cycles to actually understand, oh, we need this extra field brought through. It enables parallel development, so my web developers can build the customer portal at the same time as I actually build this API itself. And this enables me to follow a very innovative fail fast approach and therefore bring online new products and services more quickly.